Ladies and gentlemen, I think there are, I understand, about 500 participants at this conference. Welcome to all of you, but a special word of welcome to friends and colleagues who've come from abroad. I understand there are participants from almost 30 countries. So welcome to Sri Lanka. We greatly appreciate your presence in our country. Now, the theme of your conference is very forward-looking. And clearly, for it to realize the best outcomes, one needs robust collaboration, a strong nexus between academia and the industry. And so for this purpose, it is particularly fortunate that an institutional arrangement such as EAST exists to really bring this nexus about and provide a platform where academics and the industry can come together to realize the forward-looking agenda you have set for yourself at this conference. Before going on, I must also acknowledge the assistance I've received from my colleagues in the Economic Research Department of the Central Bank, who have helped me to put this material together. Now, I think, as all of you know better than anybody else, transport is an integral part of most economic activities related to the production and provision of goods and services that are required to support and improve people's lives. In addition, the possibility of travel is also becoming a key determinant of economic opportunities. Mobility is also related to the well-being and satisfaction in life. Meanwhile, again, as all of you are aware, logistics comprises an array of activities beyond transportation, including warehousing and storage, terminal operations in ports and airports, express delivery, customs brokerage, as well as data and information management. An efficient transport and logistic industry unlocks many opportunities for the growth of trade. It helps meet the demands of a growing e-commerce industry, enables connectivity of intra-regional and global markets, integrates value-added services to obtain higher profitability, and increases regional competitiveness. Improved efficiency in infrastructure services leads to huge cost savings that can be equivalent to relocating production thousands of kilometers closer to trading partners. Countries with better logistics environments can specialize in the export of parts and components, which is an indicator of increased participation in international value chains. The value chain business model is unsustainable without a logistics sector that can reliably ensure on-time and low-cost delivery. With the growth of modern production sharing networks, intra-firm trade in Asia has been the most dynamic component of the international trading system. Efficient logistics is an important determinant of a country's capacity to penetrate these supply chains. Increasing efficiency of ports and airports reduces the average time of shipments or air cargo spends in ports as well as en route, leading to more frequent and timely delivery. Such economies are very important in a globalized economy which places a very high premium on competitiveness. Now let me talk a little bit about some of the transformation that's happening in Asia. Asia is currently undergoing massive transformation, particularly in relation to connectivity and mobility. Asia now accounts for about 1/4 of both world trade and GDP and represents enormous market opportunity. We saw from Professor Munasinghe's presentation how that the thrust has now shifted back to Asia after about a 400-500 year period where the center of gravity moved westwards. As Asian urban populations are growing rapidly, with about 44 million people being added every year, the Asian Development Bank has estimated that 80% of Asia's new growth will be generated in its urban economies. These trends are placing enormous strain on transport and logistics. And clearly all the sustainability arguments so compellingly made by Professor Munasinghe would need to be mainstreamed as we move to meet these challenges. So really both trade and urbanization have been two key factors driving transformation of the transport and logistics sectors. If I may address some remarks on both these themes, first trade and then urbanization. Asia's trade has increased rapidly over the last 2 decades, with China in particular recording remarkable growth. China's exports grew at an average of more than 14% between 1980 and 2018, while other export-oriented economies within Asia, such as Japan, Hong Kong, Korea, and Singapore, recorded export growth of more than 9% per year. About 50% of Asia's exported goods are currently moved within the region. This is actually lower than the percentage of intra-regional trade in Europe and North America. This can be attributed, in part at least, to the lack of well-established free trade agreements, and the agreements that exist cover a smaller share of the regional trade volume. However, there are now 20 free trade agreements at different stages of implementation in Asia. These FTAs will enable Asian countries to benefit from closer inter-regional cooperation in the future. Sri Lanka is in fact negotiating a deeper and wider agreement with India. It is negotiating a similar partnership agreement with China and has just begun work on an agreement, partnership agreement with Thailand, and there are others in the pipeline. In addition to this, there's a partnership agreement with Singapore, as well as a bilateral agreement in goods with Pakistan. So Sri Lanka is also beginning, as the rest of Asia is, to take advantage of preferential trade agreements to boost the volume of regional trade. In parallel to growing intra-regional trade, Asia's inter-regional trade has also grown very sharply over time. In order to serve the growing international demand for goods and services, Asian economies have gone up the value chain by transforming from labor-intensive processes to capital-intensive and knowledge-driven manufacturing. The changes have been reflected in product shares of exports. Consequently, higher value, often lighter goods and trade services have gradually replaced bulky commodities, resulting in declining weight-to-value ratios. The shift in product mix of exports has an important implication for the transport and logistics sectors. In Asia, the dominant mode of freight transport has been ocean transport due to its cost and efficiency advantages. However, more recently, cargo volumes in Asian countries have recorded much higher growth in comparison to air cargo volume growth in the world. So Asia volume growth has been much faster than the rest of the world as far as air cargo is concerned. With the developments in value chains and production sharing networks, Asian countries are shifting from bulky exports to lightweight exports, resulting in increased air cargo volumes. The transportation and logistic industry is today confronted with dramatic changes in the global economy, and this has brought both the risks and opportunities in the form of new technologies, new customer needs and expectations, and new business models. Today, customers expect faster services, reduced defect rates, customized products, and low cost at every layer of the value chain. Hence, logistics companies are expected to offer customer solutions which are efficient, transparent, and economical. In response, logistic companies are increasingly resorting to integration of data analytics for better traceability and predictability, adoption of smart warehousing solutions, and the use of social supply chains in order to make smart and informed decisions. I must say, one thing that strikes one is that all these developments are going in the right direction. in terms of the compelling message that Professor Munasinghe has given us. So already it seems that the transport and logistics sector is actually going in the right direction as far as the technological advances that we are seeing are concerned. As a result, technological advances are creating numerous opportunities for logistics companies. Successful companies are exploiting a whole range of new technologies from data analytics to automation and platform solutions. Going forward, the ability to keep up with the digital technology advances will be a prerequisite for success. For example, digitally integrated value chains can benefit from improved forecasting in order to scale capacities up or down and to plan routes. Adding machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques to data analytics can deliver truly dynamic routing. Meanwhile, cloud technology can enable platform solutions, which in turn make it possible to use new business models such as virtual freight forwarding. Further, automation can reshape the workforce of the logistics industry in Asia. Some of the industry's most labor-intensive processes, from warehousing to last-mile delivery, are gradually being fully or partially automated. For example, automated loading and unloading at warehouses, package delivery through autonomous vehicles, delivery drones, self-driving lockers, and partially automated truck convoys are gradually gaining traction within the global logistics industry. The Internet of Things is also being increasingly used to send and receive information. We are living through a period of very significant transformation for the global logistics industry. Given its trade dependence and rapidly increasing technological sophistication, Asia will inevitably be at the heart of these changes. While logistic companies in Asia are embracing technological development, governments need to provide a conducive, supportive environment for technological adoption through investment in advanced infrastructure such as broadband facilities. In addition, governments should also focus on cross-border transit facilitation measures such as simplified customs clearance procedures. The changes I have alluded to have been driven by rapid growth in international trade that we have witnessed in recent decades, though this advance has recently been threatened by trade tensions, particularly between the US and China. However, hopefully this is a passing phase, because going down this route will inevitably only bring lose-lose outcomes for all concerned. Now, the second driver I mentioned was urbanization. Rapid urbanization is becoming increasingly important as a driver of redesigning transport and logistics in Asia. Urbanization and economic growth have led to increased demand for efficient and sustainable transport and logistics networks within borders as well as across borders. Increasing demand for services has created challenges for the transportation sector, particularly traffic congestion, which can be a serious constraint to urban development while creating a number of environmental problems. In order to overcome the issues that emerge from rapid urbanization and increased mobility of people, more effective investment in targeted transport infrastructure projects and innovative technologies are required within the Asian region. To this end, both multilateral and private sector initiatives are necessary to assist fiscally strapped governments to develop efficient and sustainable transport infrastructure within the Asian region. Meanwhile, transport infrastructure also needs to be modified to suit the needs of an aging population, to support increased female participation in the workforce, as well as new forms of workplaces and lifestyles. And it also needs to accommodate future transport technologies such as autonomous vehicles and car sharing. What about the future? Considerable scope exists for unlocking the potential for greater regional collaboration among Asian countries. Establishing Asia-wide economic integration and supply chain connectivity can generate enormous dividends for the people of our region. In order to build a more integrated Asia, an innovative and comprehensive approach is needed to to address both the physical infrastructure issues as well as non-physical soft infrastructure challenges. The reform should include development of airports, seaports, dry ports, roads, rail, inland waterways, maritime transport, and information and communication networks, as well as cross-border transit facilitation measures, customs clearance, and other facilitating policies and regulations. In addition, collaborative efforts involving Asian countries, bilateral donors, multilateral development banks, UN agencies, other intergovernmental organizations, as well as professional associations like yourselves and the private sector are essential to address issues arising from regional transformation. In this connection, the One Belt, One Road initiative can have a transformative impact on physical connectivity if it is rolled out in a consensual way. We need to look beyond the rhetoric and identify ways and means of taking advantages of China's capital surplus in a non-threatening manner to bring about win-win outcomes for all the countries in the region. Let me end by focusing a little bit on Sri Lanka and the vision for Sri Lanka. For millennia, Sri Lanka was a hub in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Our archaeological sites have found Roman coins on one side, Chinese coins on the other. What we are now doing, we lost that kind of DNA through about 450 years of colonialism. But now in the post-colonial phase, it has taken us a bit too long. But we are now beginning to rediscover our roots as far as re-establishing ourselves as a hub in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The Colombo port is the most efficient port in the region. It is being expanded, also globally it ranks very high as well. It is being expanded. It has 3 container terminals now. A further east terminal is being built by the Sri Lanka Ports Authority with assistance from Japan and India. There is scope to build another terminal, the North Terminal. So Colombo Port expansion is very much on the agenda. The Hambantota Port is now being developed further, and there is going to be an industrial zone in the hinterland to support it. Trincomalee, the great natural harbor, there's a master plan which has been drawn up by Subarna Jurong of Singapore, and the government's intention is to roll that out with the assistance of Singapore and India. The airport, there's an expansion plan for the Katmanaka International Airport. Palali Airport in the north is about to open next month as a regional airport with connectivity to India. Road development has been going ahead. Mrs. Hetiarachi is the secretary of that. We've had a great deal of road development in the last 10-15 years, and there is more in the pipeline. You know, one of the things we pride about in terms of our location is our proximity to the very large Indian market. But we have not been able to take advantage of that because the transaction costs of doing business with India has been extremely high due to poor infrastructure in both countries. But now, infrastructure on both sides of the Pork Strait are beginning to improve, and so there will now be a higher premium attached to the proximity that we've had for millennia. We should be able to leverage it more effectively going forward. And there are also lots of work being done as part of the Colombo Port City project, the Megapolis project for the western region. I'm not going to go into details other than to say there's a lot of infrastructure being developed, and each of these has important transport components. So it's important that, you know, East gives us a platform to distill best practice and share the knowledge of the research that's being done in the region. So I hope the deliberations over the next four days will enable us to distill some lessons for Sri Lanka as we go ahead with this very ambitious infrastructure development program that we are in the process of implementing. Finally, you're here in Sri Lanka. I hope you will enjoy yourselves as well as do the work related to the conference. But I must tell you, as a country, we have a great deal of potential. We have to work very hard to realize that potential, but our location, as I said, 20 miles from the large markets across the Pork Strait in India. We're slap bang in the middle of the maritime Silk Route. We are equidistant from Europe and the Far East, and in a very convenient time zone, access to the Middle East and East Africa, as well as the lucrative ASEAN markets. So it is a wonderful location. And as we build up our infrastructure, as the logistics strengthen, this potential can be realized. Finally, let me say again, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a privilege to be here with you, and let me wish you very productive deliberations over the next 4 days. Thank you very much.